The psychology of people who get attached too fast. Some people do not fall in love too fast. They attach to safety too fast. They meet someone who listens, someone who replies with warmth, someone who makes them feel seen for a moment. And suddenly, something inside them begins to soften. Not because they are desperate, not because they are weak, not because they do not understand boundaries, but because their nervous system recognizes something it has been waiting for. Peace, a calm voice, a kind message, a little consistency, a person who does not make them feel like they are too much. And to someone who has spent years feeling emotionally unsafe, that can feel like love. They may barely know the person, but they already start imagining what it would feel like to be close to them. They replay the conversation. They remember the tone. They notice the way that person made them laugh, relax, breathe, or feel less alone. And their mind starts building a connection around that feeling. This is why some people get attached so fast. They're not only attaching to the person, they are attaching to how they felt beside that person. Safe, chosen, important, understood. And when you have been emotionally hungry for a long time, even a small amount of warmth can feel like a full meal. Maybe they grew up in a place where love was inconsistent. Sometimes warm, sometimes cold, sometimes present, sometimes suddenly distant. So they learned to hold tightly to good moments before they disappeared. They learned that when someone is kind, you should not waste it. When someone gives attention, you should not lose it. When someone makes you feel special, you should try to keep them close. Because part of them still believes that care is rare. So when a person appears and gives them even a little emotional safety, their heart may rush ahead before their mind has time to understand what is happening. They may start checking their phone too often, waiting for a reply, reading small changes in tone, wondering if the person is still interested, wondering if they said something wrong, wondering if the connection is fading. And this can feel confusing, because on the outside, it may look like they are attached to someone they barely know. But on the inside, they are attached to the feeling of not having to earn someone's attention. They are attached to the silence that does not feel punishing, the conversation that does not feel forced, the presence that does not make them perform. For once, they do not feel like they have to chase approval. For once, they feel like they can just exist. And that feeling can become powerful. Sometimes people who attach too fast are not looking for romance first. They are looking for emotional relief. They're tired of being guarded, tired of wondering where they stand, tired of giving more than they receive, tired of being the one who cares too deeply in spaces where no one notices. So when someone finally notices them, they may feel like they have found something rare. But here is the painful part. Sometimes they are not falling for the person's character. They're falling for the emotional contrast. The difference between how lonely they usually feel and how calm they felt with that person. And when the contrast is strong, the attachment can feel intense. A single conversation can feel like hope. A kind message can feel like proof. A little attention can feel like a promise. But attention is not always intimacy. Chemistry is not always safety. And someone making you feel good for a moment does not always mean they can hold your heart with care. This is where people who attach fast often get hurt, because they may give emotional meaning to small things before the relationship has had time to prove itself. They may mistake potential for reality. They may confuse comfort with commitment. They may fall in love with who someone could be, not who they have consistently shown themselves to be. And when that person pulls away, replies differently, becomes distant, or does not match the emotional depth they imagined, it can feel devastating. Not because the relationship was long, but because the hope was deep. They are not only losing a person, and this can bring up old pain, the old fear of being too much, the old fear of being easy to leave, the old fear that if someone becomes distant, it must mean they did something wrong. So they may blame themselves. Maybe I cared too much. Maybe I moved too fast. Maybe I ruined it. Maybe I should have been colder. Maybe I should not have shown that I cared. But the answer is not to become cold. The answer is to learn the difference between attachment and trust. Attachment can happen quickly. Trust needs time. Attachment says, "This feels good. Please do not leave." Trust says, Let me see if your actions stay consistent. Attachment rushes toward relief. Trust watches patterns. Attachment is often built from emotional hunger. Trust is built from repeated safety. And maybe the goal is not to shame yourself for attaching fast. Maybe the goal is to understand what part of you is reaching so quickly. Is it your adult heart choosing clearly? Or is a younger part of you finally feeling noticed? Because sometimes the part that attaches too fast is not foolish. It is tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of pretending it does not need love. Tired of acting like attention does not matter. So when kindness appears, it runs toward it. And maybe that part of you does not need punishment. Maybe it needs reassurance. You can tell yourself, I am allowed to enjoy this connection slowly. I do not have to turn one good moment into a whole future. I can like someone without losing myself. I can feel warmth without handing over my peace. I can wait and see who they are over time. Because real safety does not require you to abandon yourself. The right connection will not need you to panic, chase, overthink, or shrink. It will not make you feel addicted to small pieces of attention. It will not only feel safe in the beginning and confusing later. Real safety becomes clearer with time. It is consistent. It is calm. It is honest. It does not punish you for having feelings. It does not make you beg for basic care. So if you get attached too fast, maybe you are not too emotional. Maybe you have simply been waiting too long to feel emotionally safe. But you deserve more than a moment of warmth. You deserve a pattern. You deserve consistency. You deserve someone whose care does not disappear the second you start trusting it. And until that becomes clear, move slowly. Let people show you who they are. Let time reveal what chemistry cannot. Let your heart feel, but let your boundaries stay awake. Because sometimes you're not attached to the person. You are attached to the peace you felt beside them. And the deeper healing is realizing this. You do not have to chase a person to keep that peace. You can learn to build it inside yourself first.